The Economic Development Committee meeting down in 28th and start out by asking if there are any public comments.
Yeah, two words I wanted to say. First of all, just two.
That's
yeah.
it. Two.
That's it. That's all.
Thank you.
So yeah, I was looking. I'm actually in favor of changing the zoning to include the 5 Wellington. I think it makes sense over there. If I, respectfully could ask, I think that property, not the 5, the number 1, needs probably a little bit more green. I think it's a stark contrast between that property and everything around. And I think with that, maybe we can balance a little bit more the green. Other than that, I think it makes sense to enlarge. I think we need economic development. And the last thing is, again, back to the roundabouts. Now, Mayor, last time you said that, this is a long way to go, but we're sending letters now opposing that.
Well, there's a planning process and you have to be part of it.
I know, but the idea is, my comment was against those letters. I think we have millions coming our way and we're saying, no, we don't want them.
There's a
So
public meeting coming up.
I know, I'm aware.
For
I'll be there.
PennDOT to make their presentation and we'll take it from there.
Okay, that's it, thank you.
Thank you. That was a lot more than 2 words, but I'm not surprised. All right, we have a couple of items on our agenda today. First up is State Hill Road Cocktails and Kitchen. So, the floor is yours, sir.
Do you want me to help you?
Yeah, sit up here with us.
Okay. The owner is out of the country or out of the state?
Out of the state. I think he's still down in Florida. Well, I was trying to get Bill in. I'll make a quick introduction. My name is Chuck France. I'm with C2C Design Group. Michelle's going to try to get Bill Carides on the phone as well. Bill is the... Thank you, Michelle.
Bill?
Good morning.
Good morning. This is Michelle from the borough. You are on speakerphone in council chambers with the Economic Development Committee, and Chuck is here.
Thank you. Great. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
All right, so yeah, Bill's on the phone. Bill is the owner of State Hill Craft Cocktail and Kitchen. And we're here this morning to talk to you a little bit about the property and the property just south of I'm pretty sure everybody's familiar with the location, State Hill Road, Wellington. I'm sure you've either driven by or stopped in at some point. So ever since Bill has had this property, he's had our office take a look at some possibilities. We're trying to add some parking near the facility. So we looked at a couple of options for Bill. Bill just recently had the opportunity to acquire the property at 5 Wellington Boulevard, which is the property just to the south. The owner, last name is Ganter, is the last name of the property owner.
I'm sorry, Michelle, is there an opportunity to put that plan up so in case anybody is not familiar with the exact issue that we're talking about? It's right there.
Excellent, thanks, Michelle. So, pointer is not working.
This one's dead too.
All right. So I think you can see though. I'll just try to describe on the plan here. So the property. Thank you, Michelle. The property that is currently State Hill is the purple property there, kind of southeast corner of State Hill and Wellington. And the property that Bill has acquired is the property to the south, which is hatched on this exhibit. And that would be the property that we are proposing to change from your residential R1A district to the C1 district. So maybe a little bit about what Bill is going to be proposing to do with this property. Thank you. So as you can see again, you can see where the restaurant's located. Parcel A is the current State Hill Craft Cocktail and Kitchen property. Parcel B is basically where the parking lot is shown, is the property that Bill is acquiring. So you can see that the majority of parcel B that would be acquired is going to be used for parking. Obviously, Bill will knock down the existing single-family dwelling. We'll put some parking in there. You'll also notice that we are going to propose to relocate the entrance off of Wellington Blvd. If you've been to that property and been to the restaurant, a little awkward when you kind of come in off of State Hill Road. You sort of have to loop back around, do a U-turn to get into the property. What we're hoping to do is slide that entrance down so it's a little bit more aligned with Addington, so you can turn right in. Probably have to modify a little bit of circulation. That'll have to be ironed out as we go through the process. But the idea would be to basically add a better part of maybe 30 to 35 parking spaces as being able to acquire the property to the south. Bill would also be proposing to potentially do an expansion to the existing restaurant as well. So Bill can probably talk a little bit about what he had in mind for the expansion. Go ahead, Bill.
Sorry, Chuck. Also, one of the challenges that we have currently is the driveway access issue. We have people entering, going around the building and exiting the same way, not using the back area and the back of the restaurant. That's the driveway to exit. They're just not even seeing that and going in front again and causing major traffic issues there. And it's not good for pedestrians, people entering the restaurant. We want to create a better flow throughout the restaurant and actually people enter and exit safely. That's one of the challenges. The other thing that we're looking at is potentially expanding the restaurant, maybe putting a deck on, or maybe expanding the restaurant footprint for like an outdoor seating space. Those are the things that we'd like to accomplish in the next several years, looking ahead.
All right, thanks, Bill.
Chuck, I have a question.
Yeah.
Is there any direct access onto Bristol Court? It looks like there's a little piece of the property that touches Bristol Court.
There is a strip that goes out to Bristol Court. Bill, I don't believe that.
There isn't. It's a small, it's not even a 10-foot easement that enters, and that's used for stormwater currently. It is very small. I don't even think it's 10 feet.
Okay.
And there's trees lining it to buffer the house in the back there.
All right, so it's not a paved area.
No, it's not.
Correct.
So what about the restaurant expansion, Bill? Tell us about that.
We want to expand the kitchen slightly and open up the area in the back to put like a 3 seasons or 4 seasons room. It all depends. That's in talks. It's not it's all in the conceptual stage. We don't know exactly what we want to accomplish back there quite yet, but giving an expansion in like an enclosed deck where there's windows and you can have a 4 seasons room throughout the space. That would be what we would like to do.
So no open air deck?
No, I don't think it's going to be open. There's potential, so we can consider both options, either enclosing the whole thing or a deck with a roof on it.
Well,
But probably we would like to see a 4 seasons room where we can enclose everything.
if it were open, the light and the noise would be much more intrusive on the residential neighborhood. That would be more troubling for me personally.
Correct, and we would be very sensitive to that.
So currently, when you come out of your parking lot, you have no choice but to turn right, unless you do what I did sometimes.
A lot of people.
Well, Chief Phillips isn't
Well,
there.
there are.
So,
we did see several individuals going the other way.
Yeah, one of them could have been me. But at the end of the day, I assume that we'll be able to turn left, Michelle, out of that new parking lot if that happens.
As long as the driveway access, which it looks like it would meet the ordinance requirements, be wide enough to allow 2-way traffic. There's 2 arrows there, so I'm
Yeah.
presuming
Yes.
that's what you plan for.
Yes, yeah, idea would be that it would be 2-way in and And just with the width around the drive aisles through there and parking configuration, we may have to do almost a one-way circulation around. But we'll have to iron that out once we finish up doing survey and laying everything out, see what the exact dimensions end up to be. Yeah, the idea would be two-way functioning exit, ingress and egress from that new driveway point. The possibility of being able to go south on Wellington.
Presume there's a stop sign at Abington?
From Abington coming out to Wellington,
Yes.
This isn't relevant to this question, but isn't the dentist office next to that for sale?
I believe so, yes.
Yes, it is.
Which direction is that?
This building
The
right
little
here,
green patch with the.
and it actually hasn't,
Not that one, the
I-
next one over.
this one.
Yeah, that one.
I think this is currently vacant or for
Yeah,
lease
that's
as
the
well.
That's
ampersand.
the old ampersand.
And, okay, that's not for this discussion, sorry.
Chuck, have you done a zoning analysis so that if the zoning map change were approved by council, would the improvements that you're showing on this sketch meet the zoning without any variance requirements?
Yeah, the only item that we'll have to take a look at, Chris, that's a good question, is the open space requirement. We're close right now, so we have to figure out how we can either get to that 20% requirement, or if we can't get to that 20% requirement, get within a reasonable proximity of that 20%.
How close is it?
We're at like 18, 19% right now, so we're right there. It's just a matter of trying to figure out how we can get there. And a lot of that may depend on the building size and what we do with the addition. But outside of that, we have had an opportunity to meet with McCarthy and do a little bit of a zoning sketch analysis with it. So use aside, I think otherwise we can probably address the zoning requirements of the C1 district. Which, Chris, you're bringing up a point as to why we're here. Then obviously the complication to do this, if we were dealing with two different zoning districts and the division between the property would be complicated in that we'd have two different sets of zoning requirements we'd be dealing with. Anything you want to do in the future, we'd probably have to come back to the zoning hearing board if it would be divided. So the request is simply to try to clean up the zoning application for the combined property.
So is it all right to mention that you may have tremendous traffic issues in a year or so when they start to put roundabouts around that part of the world? And that might want to be something you consider before you drop $500,000 in the project and
I'm not so sure there's a roundabout.
There's nowhere close.
It doesn't matter where, if it's on that road, it's going to affect their ability to do
I
whatever.
don't think the roundabout creates more traffic.
Well, anyway, if nobody told you, I told
It
you.
creates
Yeah.
different kind of
Whatever you
traffic.
want.
It
I think
creates more
I think
traffic.
Bill is aware of some of the improvements that are being proposed there along the State Hill Road. So yes.
As Jana indicated, we're always very sensitive to the residential areas. Seeing where the parking lot is in that black line, which I assume is the property line, there's some space between the paved area and the next property, which is a residence that has forever looked at a house next door and now is gonna look at a parking lot. So what is the plan for any kind of screening or anything to mitigate that?
Yeah, good question, and that is, what we show right there is the 20-foot buffer requirement, which I believe is the zoning requirement for a use between residential and the parking lot. So that would be a 20-foot buffer that would be landscape. Got some screening in there, you can sort of see this screening that we just sort of threw some circles in there for now, but obviously that would have to get fully developed and make sure it meets your buffer requirements through the land development process, which should progress to that.
There's a fence line right there, right?
I believe in the back there is a fence.
Although I meant between the proposed parking lot and the house that's now due south of there.
Yes, there is a fence halfway up until the house that is the current existing house, and then there's some shrubbery in the front. But we intend to, considering if we put this parking lot, it would actually help the neighbor situation, because currently some of our customers park alongside Wellington and it actually disturbs them. So what I want to plan to do is, move the traffic inside or move the parking or the parking into that lot B, so it will help ease their issues. Very sensitive to neighbors, so definitely we would put all the screening, all the requirements, and make it look beautiful.
But I guess my question is, that fence line on the south end of the parking lot, is there a fence, you saying there is a fence there currently or not that you know of?
Yes, there is. The property that we're purchasing today does have a fence all around it with the neighbor and us. So it's almost like a U-shaped fence if you're looking at the property.
Okay, because I think no matter how we shrub it up and give it a screen, someone's gonna sit there on their phone with their lights on in December with, if it's a deciduous type of tree, how about that word?
I'm impressed.
Yeah, but can you spell
Your
it?
word was better than Michelle.
You know, I picture someone sitting on their cell phone for 15 minutes with their high beams flashing right through the backyard of the people's houses. And I think this is a great idea, don't get me wrong. I am very sensitive. I used to live in that neighborhood. I'm very sensitive to the privacy they would have in their backyard, quite frankly.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
you have people going from the restaurant to the parking spaces, they're going to be talking with other people. In the summer, they're gonna have the windows down, the radio's blaring, and as long as you're open, and probably for half an hour after that, potentially it's a nightmare for the people right next to it, and perhaps others nearby. So I don't know what you do about the noise problem. God help these people if they have open windows and are trying to sleep.
Well,
It's a lot more, it's a
Well,
lot more noise.
It's not quote your neighborhood bar like, you know, some other places are. This is a little bit more upscale.
Upscale people still have their radios blaring, upscale people still talk, they still make a lot of noise, they have their car doors slamming.
yeah, that all being said, I think that happens right now on Wellington Boulevard, right in front of their house. So I think ultimately this would take that pressure off of Wellington and put there. Listen, I'm okay with, I like the idea.
Yeah.
I just think we need to make that very heavy screening for that neighborhood. I'm sensitive to that.
We could also, say no parking on Wellington.
Well, but if the neighborhood people park
Yeah.
there, even that's screwing
Portion
them out.
parking up the street.
I mean, you could say. maybe
In front of
I don't think
Restaurant.
that's something we
Portion
should address
of
later, but I think when you put this parking lot in,
They're not gonna park.
no one's gonna park on Wellington anymore.
No.
Especially if you can turn left coming out of the
Coming out of here.
the new parking lot.
Will there be any new access point into the building from the new parking, or will people need to go around the building to get in? Because that also would affect the way that noise comes out of the building to the neighborhood.
We're looking to just build the parking lot first and just have the entrance where it is. And then later on in the future, we would look towards, I'm not sure if we would open up access through the back of the restaurant yet. So that's something that we still are discussing and seeing what the design would be.
What's in the stub? It's 20 foot, it says.
Yeah, so
What
what we've
about the neighbor?
shown there is that would be the extension of the impervious in the parking lot into the existing parking lot. So that gray shading is just sort of the new paving. So that will just connect into the existing paving in the existing parking lot for the restaurant.
Does the neighbor just south of this parking lot know anything about this yet?
I have not spoken to them. I have not spoken to them, no.
I was concerned about that area, they're gonna park dumpsters in there or something.
No, that would be a through lane, basically drive aisle.
You can actually see the loading.
And dumpsters are staying where they are.
There's gonna be counterclockwise circulation around the whole property for the drive.
Yeah, and what we're thinking there is just that first conflict point when you come into the parking area, rather than having like a left, to keep traffic flowing, you're gonna wanna keep going straight, and around, and then even coming out, and just avoid two conflict points there, from the entrance and then.
Are you shutting down that driveway that's there currently?
No, so I'm sorry, yes, that would be.
So that would be gone.
Yes, that would
Oh,
be gone,
okay.
and we'd put potentially three more parking spaces in that location.
Perpendicular or?
Head in, yep.
Oh, 3 more parking spots. Okay, got it.
Yes,
You don't
yeah.
mean on Wellington, okay.
Yep.
Now, there's where I wouldn't have a problem. Can they park along that grass strip right there between the two properties, sort of parallel to Wellington? They can't they?
No, they cannot
Okay.
currently. I think there's no parking from our current lot. Actually, from where their driveway is forward, we're not allowed to park, forward from there.
Okay, perfect. So the only way to get in and out will be that new driveway then? Again, just, if this gets approved, I would just do everything you can to put the proper trees in, shrubs in. If there's a fence there currently, be nice and maybe replace a fence if it's in bad shape, which I have a feeling it probably is.
For some other projects, the car wash comes to mind for the back of blocks, the butts, similar, a residential zoning district. We made them put in landscaping and a fence.
Yeah, I would say the additional fence is gonna help as a sound barrier.
Yeah, if I'm sitting in that backyard of that house and there's a nice fence and it's all tree lined and all that stuff, I don't know that it's gonna be any different than what's there today.
And definitely I'll go talk to the neighbor, you know, and have discussions with him and open up that dialogue after we settle.
Okay.
Other questions, committee? Chuck, do you have anything further to say?
I don't have anything else to add at this point.
Charlie?
Yeah, if I may, from an engineering standpoint, talked to Jim McCarthy before he left for his well-deserved vacation yesterday.
Debatable.
Another one.
He,
Yeah. Out more than.
we're very happy with the counterclockwise circulation around the building. It's a much better flow than what you have there today. And the fact that the driveway moves down toward Abington is a much better access than the one that exists now. And try to avoid those conflicts with people coming out onto Wellington, going the wrong way. So from that standpoint, we're pleased with it.
Okay, my only comment is make sure that whatever our codes are, that we can turn left out of that entranceway, I think
Absolutely.
is important. I mean, when I used to live on Tewksbury, to go there if I drove, to turn right to get on State Hill Road was just a nightmare.
Now, I realize it's not our job to write anybody's business plan, but inasmuch as it has had a tremendous impact on my Saturday night pizza and cheesesteak, is there any thoughts about reopening the pizza and cheesesteak department?
We're talking the future. Hopefully with the existing renovation, we can accommodate that.
Well, then I'm in favor, but. Anything else, anybody? Michelle?
It's a good plan.
All right, well, we wish you the best, so keep refining it. And
Yeah, there's this
Right.
motion on the agenda regarding the request for change to zoning map.
Which would need to go to the planning commission, county planning
This
commission.
would just be a starting point here today if the committee wishes to consider that.
Well, if the committee is generally in favor, is one of the members willing to make a motion to forward the plan to the planning commission, ours and county, I suppose, right?
So moved.
We have a motion, is there a second?
I'll second it.
We have a second from Steve, any conversation? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody contrary minded? Okey doke.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank
Have a
you,
good
Chuck.
day.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, everyone.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chuck.
Just point out to the committee, we have a pending ordinance regarding the State Hill Overlay District, and since
Yeah,
that,
no.
the status of that amendment to the zoning ordinance is that we are working through the county planning commission comments. So we're gonna make some tweaks to that based on the county planning commission comments. We could wrap this map change into that State Hill overlay ordinance and do it all together.
Good idea.
I like that idea.
Makes your life easier.
And Michelle or Chris, you don't see any issues in regards to the plans for State Hill Road with this particular proposal?
Other than the ones that I think were identified by the committee, which is that it abuts a residential zoning district and being as mindful of that as possible. The one thing we didn't talk about as part of the engineering is the parking lot's gonna have to have lighting, but they can use light packs that shine down, the lumens are contained, there's no light pollution, and that's something we'd look at as part of the land development process.
I think this is consistent with that overlay concept in that it's promoting redevelopment along this commercial corridor in the borough. Now, it's a little bit tweaked as far as the boundary with the proposal by the developer, but it's consistent with the concept for that overlay.
Can I just bring up a point? I had mentioned when we were talking about the C1 district, about the two houses that are on State Hill Road
Mhm.
and Vista.
Mhm.
And seeing if we could allow somebody to purchase them and make that commercial. And my response was, no, we want, a buffer zone, we want houses. And now we're not gonna allow those two houses to become commercial, but we're gonna jump back on Wellington and allow that house to become commercial. And that's completely contrary to what I had suggested when we started this C1 district.
Part of that was also because those two lots are roughly half an acre to actually be able to convert them to commercial.
But they could be purchased by, just like his property was purchased by the neighboring businesses.
They
Was my
could.
thought, but they can't if we don't change, if it wasn't changed.
No, but that would be similar to this, if a neighboring
It's an as-built.
owner wanted to come in and buy them, same thing, can we amend the zoning map to change this to C1 for this reason?
We had a
Yeah, I
proposal
just-
years ago
Or one of them,
for the property at the corner,
One
south
Vista.
corner. And that individual, I think, also owned the hair salon
correct, Shirley
further
Linda Muth.
south. And we said no, because of neighbor concerns.
And now we're gonna say yes. Okay.
It was years ago. Things changed, but you're exactly right.
Yeah, I just wanna, put on the record that I thought these other houses should be able to be in the C1 district, but they were like, no, we need these houses as a buffer.
What's it do
Now
to
we're
the
jumping in.
property value if you put a house in the C1 district? I mean, it's gotta help, correct?
Yeah. It's
But
definitely gonna help, and that's why I suggested, because that way now they can sell to a business who's gonna pay a lot more than somebody who's gonna live in that house.
In
The
theory,
business may not buy it if they
in theory, yes, but in reality, no, because what they're gonna have to go through for likely zoning approval, land development, everything else, plus stormwater,
Absolutely.
yeah. For what it's worth, 5 Vista, which is 2 in off of State Hill, is coming in for a variance for home occupation relief, to operate a barber shop out of 5 Vista, secondary to the property being used as a house. That hearing's April 24th in the afternoon, so it'll be interesting to see who shows up from the neighborhood. That might be a good gauge as to what the temperature is on that block for commercial.
Fred, since you're a real estate guru here, you pick off a house and you turn it into a commercial. The guy who sold the house, the guy who's now behind the barber shop or whatever, he walked away with a few bucks. The one next to it is living in a house that's residential. Is his house tanked unless somebody wants to put a diner in there, or is he just stuck with living next to a barber shop?
Well, I'd say he's living next to a barber shop. It's a very unintensive use, and there had been a little barber shop actually up further on Wellington on the other side of the
Yeah.
street for many years. Pete Xavius.
I think he's still in operation.
Is this still in operation?
Well,
He applied for a
passed
business
away.
license this year, like every other year. I don't know that this would be,
He passed away, because he's not cutting hair then,
I don't know, maybe somebody else is.
Only,
not here at least.
only at the front gates.
This one at Five Vista, I don't know that it would be as unobtrusive in that he's talking about one client an hour for 10 to 11 hours per day, 5 days a week. So,
Well, that's why we have a zoning hearing board, you know.
correct.
If this passes and they meet all of the zoning requirements, there won't be a hearing, or will there?
For One Wellington,
Yes.
there would not be a hearing. It would go through the planning commission for land development.
Okay.
So it will go to the zoning hearing board first.
No.
No, not if they meet
Not
all
if
the
they
zoning
meet-
regulations.
No, they're not right now,
Well,
you're saying
you're-
you're at like
No, I
18,
know that.
19%.
We're gonna try our best
We
to
need to get
meet,
to 20.
make it zoning
Though I would
compliant.
argue even at that, de minimis.
Yeah, yes.
So the guy whose property you're buying, he's all on board already.
I'm sorry, repeat that?
The guy that's
Well,
buying
he's
is
still-
on
of
board.
course he is.
Meaning
Yes,
the who's
yes,
selling.
yes.
It's the guy next to him that could yell and scream all they want, but something else.
Right, now he's the one next to the restaurant, correct.
There would be a public hearing on the ordinance, that's the only.
Okay.
I would be very nice to that neighbor and make sure you do pretty
Gift
much
cards for
whatever
life.
he asks and you do.
I'm sure Bill will take care of him.
Especially if he's interested in cheesesteaks.
All right.
I have a house.
All right, well, thank you.
Okay, thank you,
See you,
everyone.
Chuck.
Have a good day.
All right, next on our agenda is, drum roll, please. The former, you notice the word former in it red.
So Mike Shervonic, who is the new owner of 1040 North Park Road, was able to join us this morning. I don't wanna steal your thunder, so, and I have the plans available, you're welcome to talk about.
I got a as is and as proposed, I can, you guys share.
I have them up on the screen if that helps.
This one Keith just made for me
Okay.
yesterday, so if I feel a little different.
Thank you. I think both these.
Mr. Stanko, though. You too.
Any bigger?
So the first page is pretty much what's up on the screen. And the second page is what we're gonna, come to the next, what is the date? Zoning? That we scheduled to do it for next one? I think it's,
No, planning
Planning.
Planning Commission?
Not April, May, cause there's one on Monday.
Okay, the May Planning Commission meeting, will be presenting the formal plan for the subdivision of 1040 North Park Road into 3 lots. We're gonna open the former D&E buildings, kind of the way that they have been used for roughly the last decade or so as apartments. They're gonna be called the Studios on Spring. And then we're gonna start the process with the Borough for Land Development to build a 100-foot tall apartment building, basically at the top left of the picture you're looking at. With kind of the square in the middle is the new clubhouse and pool. And then eventually demolish the banquet hall and do another apartment building.
I don't have that, Steve, so I
Got
can't,
it.
but
Yeah.
upper
I'm
left
thinking
for
of
the
looking at two
existing
different
site,
Yeah.
it would be up here.
Well, I go there.
So what's the total number,
Yeah, yeah.
what's the total number of units you're proposing
that's right.
ultimately?
For the studios on Spring or the new
Total-
building,
Total. for the-
the new building that's shown on here will be no more than about 250. That's about the most we can get there.
But I mean, in the whole.
The whole
Phase
complex,
one.
yeah, total, the
Say-
whole complex.
With phase 1 and the studios on Spring, what we're gonna do right away, that'll be 360 total. And then in the future, if we decide to demolish the banquet hall, there could be another 400.
What do you likely charge for the students?
The studios are gonna be 900 a month. And we're targeting like the Drexel, medical students primarily. We've been talking with the dean there. We're pretty confident that as soon as we open it, we'll be full.
So are these true studios, like no bedroom? It's a true
It's just,
studio?
they're repurposed hotel rooms, there's no kitchen,
Right.
you know, it's just bed, bathroom, the additional sink, and then a common kitchen for the whole building, common laundry.
And what is your thinking about the current, as you call it, banquet hall that hasn't been used for a while?
So the banquet hall has a huge tax burden that comes with it because it's so big. It's 42,000 square feet, includes the restaurant. We'd love to lease it to a new operator and bring it up to what it was before, but you know, you can't have a banquet 8 hours a day every day, so you know, it might be a tough sell.
Maybe the bridesmaids come.
For the bridesmaids, yeah. So we'd love to lease it and see where that goes, but I don't know if there's anyone with an appetite for something that large that would want to, you know, lease it on a triple net square foot lease.
So the studios are $900 a month, what are those gonna be?
The one bedrooms are going to be like 18 or 1900, and then the 3 bedrooms will probably be around, you know, 3,000.
So similar to 100 North Park, across the street from that.
Yeah.
Have you had any conversation with the Wilson School District?
No, not yet.
They
Have
get,
fun.
they get agitated
don't screw
about
it up.
potential for kids.
Well, you could make it Wyomissing, and that wouldn't be a problem.
I don't think that district would be any happier, but
Unfortunately, that ship sailed in 1950.
Yeah.
I do think Wilson should be mindful of the fact you're looking at commercial on the first floor, so. I mean, not only the overall reassessed value when this is done and what that's going to mean to them, but also the mercantile and business privilege tax it's gonna pull in from those other uses.
So what's plan B for the banquet hall? New, lease?
We'll just knock it down. We're gonna at least keep it. I own another business, we make cabinetry, so we're obviously gonna make all the cabinetry for this building, so we'll do our assembly there. And then when we're done with this building, we'll just knock it down. That's plan B.
Do you wanna?
You know, for banquet facilities, we only have one place. There's, you know, the DoubleTree, they got a wrap on banquet facilities.
Yeah,
So I would think you wanna jump at the chance to have another banquet facility.
I mean, I think if somebody wanted to run the banquet facility, it's in great shape. It looks just like probably the last time you remember it. It wasn't used for a long time, but getting someone to lease a space that big is, you have to have deep pockets. I mean, you're talking about a $40,000 to $50,000 a month lease for something that big. And then, right now, I met with, fire chief and Chief Phillips. They're gonna, the A, B, and C wings they're gonna use for training exercises before we demo it, so they're gonna do that next week.
Should we check on the
Where's
status of the
ABS?
demo permit that's at the top of the queue?
Oh, good.
Hey,
Oh, here,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was thinking, is there still a
These,
hotel
Steve.
being considered?
these,
No, there's never a hotel being considered in my redevelopment plan.
Okay.
you're, I think thinking of the Radisson.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking.
what's the time frame on the
What was that?
studios and the new
The
building?
Radisson,
The
Yeah.
studios, we're trying to
There.
open,
That's not
get, and
this.
have occupied for June 1st.
June 1st of this year.
Yep.
Yeah,
Huh?
Yeah, they already have a CO and everything, that's how they were used previously, so we're basically just painting, doing cosmetics there. And then, as soon as we can get through the land development process, we'll break ground on the flats at 1040 for the large building.
The studio's furnished or unfurnished?
What's that?
The studios be furnished or unfurnished?
Furnished.
900's not bad for furnished.
And then you plan on keeping those studios long-term?
Yeah,
What kind of lease terms are you looking at?
1 year. Absolutely, I'm not gonna run what was there before, it's not gonna
Please don't.
I mean, if you would smell what I've smelled the last few weeks,
Do you want me to show the pictures you sent
you
me?
could. I mean,
Please
it,
do.
it was,
Yeah.
I don't know how human beings were living there that day. It's disgusting. I'm sure this.
Well, there's the word.
Yeah, yeah,
Human beings.
yeah.
You question that.
It wasn't any kind of living situation anyone would want to be
I can smell them through the pictures.
in. Yeah, if they were scratch and sniff, you'd be in trouble.
Yeah.
Sad. I think the conceptual plan is phenomenal.
Yeah, I think
Very
Wilson,
impressive.
you're gonna want to talk to Wilson, because they'll have some fun with it, but
Yeah.
I'm not that worried about Wilson personally.
Chuck and Michelle, how do these plans match up with our regulations? Have you taken a look at that yet, or?
We had a preliminary meeting with Anderson back in November.
We don't need any zoning relief whatsoever. Everything we're proposing to do is either existing use that we're not changing, like the studios on Spring, or in that redevelopment area 3 overlay district that this is in. We're meeting all, we're checking all the boxes. The only thing, if it's gonna be a sticking point, you'll notice that the flats at 1040 lot on the second page of the printout is a flag lot.
Which one are we talking about?
The second page in the paper. So what I'll show you is, there's a certain amount of road frontage you need. So if you look at this lot, it comes here, and then it comes down to here, and over to here. So we can make it meet your zoning requirements, but we might just have to taper the bottom out here, and it would really just be making a triangle for the sake of getting a few more feet of
Gets
road
better.
frontage. So we might ask for relief from that, just for common sense. That room smelled so bad. That room has nothing in it, no walls, no floors, and it still smells bad.
Looks like my apartment.
No.
It looks like that.
Good Lord.
So are there any Wilson
This is worse than my
issues
kid's
for the
dorm room.
first stage here? First stage is just operating capital with individual studios.
Yeah.
We're not assuming people are gonna have 3 children living in there.
You can't, there's single occupancy.
So there's no issue with Wilson. It's
No.
not for school occupancy, it's for the big thing going up.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, then you're already in, so it's not a
Yeah.
matter of.
Oh, sorry, wrong picture. That was Kevin making breakfast this morning for wellness.
Oh, did you go down there for that?
Yes,
I thought that was Kevin.
not to eat, just to,
Oh, I thought you went for.
I don't eat breakfast now.
All right.
We're in the process of redesigning the pump stations at Wynwood and Fourth and Ole.
Just gonna ask about
This project has a big effect on how we size those 2 pump stations. So it's all something we have to keep in mind.
I would disagree strongly. We did the math on this.
I would say this is probably not the right place for this
Yeah,
discussion.
yeah, so, but
I just,
the usage
I just
of-
wanted the
yeah.
committee to know we're working on those.
I know.
That was gonna lead to my question. Do we have enough
That,
volume?
McCarthy's,
I can't believe.
Roughly,
About
I mean, I can answer it roughly.
McCarthy's aware of this project coming online and that it needs to be factored into both the Wynwood and the Fourth
That's
Wall
what
pump
I meant,
stations,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
So, phase 1, the studio's obviously existing, nothing's changing. And the new building, the flats building at the top left of the property, we are still less than the sewer usage of the unit Reading in its heyday.
But that needs to be figured out between them and
Yeah.
McCarthy
Yeah.
and the
But if you're
JMA.
gonna do
There's an
that,
equation I don't want to
that
be involved
additional
with.
400
That then, we are going above what the unit Reading would ever have.
but we wanna account for that.
Yeah.
When we're constructing upgrading the pump stations,
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
yes.
Yeah.
But that's a couple years down the road.
Was the pump station analysis that's been done based on current flows or historic flows?
Jim didn't want us to talk about this at this meeting.
Okay.
But I did pull historic water usage records to send to Mike's engineer, as well as Jim and Jim, as well as Dave Witzer at the JMA, so.
Are you gonna be looking at, or considering tax incentive for this, like LERTA or anything like that?
I am, but as you guys all know, Wilson isn't too receptive to that. They, you know, I think
That's what it
they've given it for the commercial space in the past. We'd love to get word out on the whole project, but, we'll kind of cross that bridge when we come to it.
I don't think Wilson understands it,
Yeah,
what it actually is, and we can't seem to get them to come to our table
yeah.
and, have discussions with us on that.
I think it looks great.
Yeah.
How many apartments in the new structure?
About 250.
Do me a favor, knock the Reading sign down so people know it's sold.
It's coming.
Just knock it
The
down.
lift is getting delivered today.
I can't stand
Should've had
that, that
that
drives me
truck
crazy.
down.
Yeah, the trucker.
Just knock that sign down, doesn't, you can leave it lay there for all I care, just knock
After
it
they
down.
finally fixed it a year later.
Yeah. That'll be the big public announcement, no matter what happens.
Yeah.
The 12 people that read the Reading Eagle.
Signs now.
Well, are there any other questions from the committee?
Looks great.
Mike,
make sure our
anything
pipes
further
are
you
good.
wanted to say now?
No, I'm just here if you have any questions.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, we're pleased that you're doing it again. The Irish Club has turned out great, and this is, I have every expectation to be just as good.
He's your best ad. Aren't too careful about tenants in that, though.
No, I
I know, he knocks on my door all the time.
Is everybody out in the buildings?
Yes. A condition of the sale was the property had to be vacant, so the previous owners dealt with that.
Fantastic.
All right.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well, Michelle's my number if anybody needs me.
Good luck.
Thank you.
I have your number too.
Thanks, everyone.
Now, wait a minute, did the borough manager just give you a bottle of wine?
No,
Maybe.
it is a bottle of champagne I bought out of my own pocket because when he told me months ago he was gonna buy it, I said, if you buy that property, you're doing everyone a favor and I will buy you a bottle of champagne.
Enjoy it.
One good deed deserves another.
Thanks, everybody.
Put it on your expense account.
Don't have one.
No. All right, we have some, old business update.
I have a couple of updates. I can take the Inn at Reading off that list.
Yes.
The Crown, Radisson, former Sheridan, whatever you wanna call it, the new general contractor is not responding to any messages from Kraft, so we are going to repost the original violation notice. And I hate to say it, but if they don't respond, we're gonna end up having to file a citation, but hopefully that gets somebody's attention. I have a strong suspicion we're gonna be cutting the grass there soon, if this year goes like last year.
How much is that property worth?
I wanna say the last time it sold, it was in the 5 to 7 million range, and the conditions probably dropped a little bit since then. I know what you're thinking.
Knock
Did
it
you
down.
Craft, take a look, I'm concerned, because no activity's going on every time I drive up around that property. But there are some, skid tanks of some sort of liquid, and actually the skid tanks are chemical. I don't know what kind of chemical is in there, but they're unprotected and they're just sitting in the parking lot.
Are they attached to anything?
No,
Okay, so they're not like hooked up,
no, it's, I don't know what's in them, there's no markings on them, and, but that's kind of concerning.
on the Berkshire Mall,
There's your eminent domain project.
yeah, the good news is they finally fixed the sinkhole that was getting larger and larger by the day, adjacent to Woodland Road, after I threatened to have our emergency contractor be out there on Monday if theirs was not. The bad news is that Robert Hart, their property manager, quit. So we effectively have no good contact of that property.
one side.
I would assume they're going to replace him. Jeff and I from Kraft are gonna anonymously pop over next week to introduce ourselves and try and figure out who the point of contact is. So. And there was discussion at last month's meeting about the sidewalks across the street at the charter school. You'll notice the fence has still not been moved. We asked nicely again, and they were told yesterday that they have until Monday to show us their HOP from PennDOT giving them permission to be in the right of way. Or we will ask PennDOT for it, wink wink, they don't have an HOP, so that should get them to move. But they are still going through the process, they are insistent on putting that snow melt system in for whatever reason.
Probably because they wanna put 100 students a day through
Well, then they have bigger problems.
Because the kids that aren't gonna be
They're
there.
gonna-
walk on the sidewalk.
It's almost like they're gonna sneak students in there.
there. They can't sneak them, I'll
How
sit
they-
outside.
How they
the
would
place
do
and
that,
watch.
I don't know, but that just seems like in the back of their head, that's what they're gonna do.
There is very clear written communication provided
I
to
know,
them.
I know, I
So,
know.
does anybody have any questions on other properties I didn't mention? Yeah,
I thought it was interesting, I was over at State Hill the other week, you know, Bill had said, so how long do you think I could have? He was telling me about the 4-season thing he wanted to put in, or 3-season, whatever. He said, do you think I'd be able to get that up by this summer? I said, what summer? He said, well, this year. And I said, how about next year? There's a good possibility, but you're no way this year.
I would say maybe end of the year, early next year.
The shops at Wyomissing, anything?
New tenants going in, somebody asked me the other week if on the
We're
border
working
was,
over there doing something.
yeah, so there's an emergency vet, like Blue Pearl's moving over there. And I believe it's already open, similar to Sola Salon at below your apartment building. Same concept, you rent a space, a chair, a hair esthetician, a hairstylist, something along those lines. So there's new tenants going in, but there's still a decent amount of vacancies, yeah.
Do you wanna just bring everybody to speed on the dog situation? The barking dogs?
To me, that would actually be more appropriate for infrastructure because of the NOV, but, Diggity Dog, which opened at 220 North Park Road in the building that I would call the place where restaurants went to die. It's where Camelot and then Stella,
DJs?
yes,
Lots of
Rumors I think was in there. Diggity Dog, which is a doggy daycare, went through zoning hearing board approval last May to allow a daytime dog sitting facility. One of the things they testified to was noise. Anderson from McCarthy's office, who's the commercial zoning officer, and I'll say the past 6 months has gotten complaints from one of the individuals at Keystone Printing within that complex. Anderson emailed me the day of the March council meeting in the afternoon that she thought he might come to that night's council meeting. She has, since he started complaining about the barking, she has randomly shown up at the property over 10 times and has not been able to verify his complaints. That's not to say that it's not happening, so she went back and spoke with the owner. They've dismissed 3 dogs that were barking problems. They've put efforts in place to control bark. I mean, dogs are dogs, they're gonna bark. If it's, you know, a couple of times here and there versus 15 minutes of nonstop barking, I think those are 2 different things. The doggy daycare, I should say daycare, the doggy daycare is being mindful when they're letting dogs out into the play area to take one at a time, or the quieter dogs together so that they're not instigating each other barking. But again, this individual from Keystone, who I'm sorry, I don't remember his name off the top of my head, may be coming to the April, I'm sorry?
Ray,
Yes.
crazy.
May be coming to the April council meeting to complain. You know, I nicely replied to him, he sent Anderson and I an email, I nicely replied to him and explained, you know, I don't wanna speak for Anderson, but her and I have spoken about this, she's been out there this many times, has yet been able to verify, you know, what you're stating is happening. We need a borough consultant or a borough employee to verify it, to move forward. I mean, that would be no different than you accusing your neighbor of doing something and nobody verifying it. So, I don't know if he's gonna come or not, he did not seem thrilled with my response to him, so.
So is there is there a specific, license to have a dog on site and you have to know it's not gonna bark? Or how do you get,
I mean, that was part of the testimony provided to the zoning hearing board, which Lee Anderson and I went through the transcript together, and the board acknowledged there was going to be some barking, and that the
parking or barking?
barking, and that the owner of the business would need to make sure it was kept under control, and I think they intentionally left it a little bit vague as to what they meant by keep it under control. I mean, when they discussed it, they thought it was a great location for the simple fact it's surrounded by commercial businesses. It's not, there's nothing residential remotely close to that, so.
Of course,
Well, but Ray's, Keystone's pretty, that should be fairly airtight too.
He, my
I'm just
indication
saying,
was he's
when I-
mainly
when I-
hearing it when he's going outside to his vehicle.
Yeah, yeah, because when I went inside, I didn't hear anything in his business. When you leave, yeah, if there are dogs in the yard and they get excited if there's a person walking, you know, walk up, have the postman walk up and down our block.
It's
Or
like
near-
everything else.
No.
It's not the same dog, because the dog doesn't live there. They're boarded there, right? So
Daytime only, yes.
Yeah.
So dogs will bark, and if you change one for another, you can't exactly throw them out because the other dog barks.
That overall property, okay,
Will eventually be redeveloped in the next 10 years,
within the next 10 years,
yes. The problem, it was sold last year
that's right.
with existing leases that have 5 to 10 year time period on
Who
them.
owns it?
I don't remember his name off the top of my head, I've only spoken
It's
to
not
him.
anybody we know.
No. Reputable in terms of the former owner showed me the new owner's portfolio, but no, nobody that we know.
How long does the new dog's lease, do you know?
I believe it's 7 years.
My dog gives another 7 years.
I can't imagine any developer would want diggity dogs around whatever they would wanna develop.
Is there any news on the apartment building on Van Reed?
Waiting for us to figure out the sewer. They have conditional plan approval, just waiting on us.
We're still planning on moving forward.
they were
Are
planning,
we close at all on this?
We have numbers, and Jim's office communicated with the developers this week, this is where we think we're at, like, you have pending projects. We've determined the cost per EDU, if you're connecting to this, it's this, if you're connecting to that, it's that, if you need both, add the two together. I mean, to give you an idea, the sewage number for that project is $982,000. And that's just what they're paying the JMA, that's not what they're paying us for the upgrade.
Big deal.
Who's running the JMA right now?
Dave Wesser.
Still there?
Yeah.
So is there any validity to the Kevin Timochenko Berkshire Mall?
He's been under agreement to buy it before and hasn't, so, I mean, all I'll say is it's my understanding he's under agreement, and when it actually closes, we'll have something to talk about.
When do they think it's going to close?
No idea.
It sounds like a closing date suggests you just have to come to the table and exchange checks. There's no due diligence now, there's a closing date.
I'm not aware of a closing date, that's what I'm saying, he's under agreement, but
There was some big
So there must be some other stuff.
when I last spoke to him, he had an agreement negotiated but not signed. He was having some second thoughts about how much he paid. So it's
Up in here.
up in the air, but I think it's a positive thing.
Sure.
Um,
Okay, not.
And he said he has a number of potential tenants for various uses over there that we will be very happy about. So we'll see. In the meantime, the competition, the big field across from Barnes and Noble, got some money from the state, I understand, for the intersection improvements, which have been an impediment over there. So that project is slowly but surely moving along, and I would like to get the mall moving before it shows up. I wanted to ask, we talked a little bit about across the Hill Avenue here as a block. How are they in their overall leasing? Do you know?
UPS and Primo Hoagies are supposed to open any day. The Japanese hibachi place is going fit out. I think they're either fully leased up or they have one space left. Because keep in mind, one of those spaces is gonna be their on-site management office.
It's gonna be on-site management.
Yeah.
So, that's.
Maybe a Primo Hoagies and a hibachi grill, I could live there.
Just don't park on the street.
I could live there. I do eat breakfast
I don't have an extra bedroom, I'm sorry.
there. That might be my end goal.
Do they have a good cheesesteak? I mean,
Primo Hoagies,
Primo Hoagies is good everything.
it's really good, but it's not the same as your Santino's thing.
I'm telling you. Most of my life, I considered a 7-course gourmet meal to be a cheesesteak and a 6-pack, so I'm telling you.
Hey, when I lived on Tewksbury, I used to throw it out. We could make our kitchen a new part of the living room, because we just go to Santino's 5 days a week.
Right, right. Anything else, Michelle?
Not unless anybody has questions.
Committee, anything else that is on your minds? If not, thank you for being here, and we'll call the meeting adjourned.
Happy Easter to all.
You can give it to Anderson. She should see what you're.
When she gets back.
You just go to your office.